Isaac Roll, just his third start of the season for Newcastle. The number 9 might well be his final days as a Newcastle player that we're into here. Anthony Gordon is pulled out towards the left-hand side, and it does look as though it is a 3 central defenders. What have you spotted, Glenn?
Is there a problem with the linesman, a 4th official down there?
No, we're just, there's definitely going to be a little bit of a delay here while something is sorted out with the technicals for the 4th official. Nevertheless, the match begins. Newcastle kick off. Arsenal against Newcastle. It is 2nd against 3rd in the Premier League. And just as we get underway, what has happened in your match, John Southall?
Well, what about this, John? Brentford 2, Fulham 3. Harry Wilson just on the pitch as a substitute, 25 yards out, has just put it into the bottom left-hand corner. And if you remember earlier in the season, he scored in the 93rd and the 97th minute to beat Brentford as well. Brentford 2, Fulham 3.
So that was a 3 o'clock kick-off. It's also still Leicester 2, Ipswich 0, with Jamie Vardy scoring one of the goals. Chelsea won the Women's FA Cup final up at Wembley by 3-0 against Manchester United. Latest scores in the Premiership: Kilmarnock 0, Hearts 0, Ross County 1, Motherwell 0, St Johnstone 0, Dundee 1. And the ball with Nick Pope, the Newcastle goalkeeper, who was put under pressure by Trossard and has to deliver it long downfield. Yeah, lots of other bits of team news here as well. Rice and Trossard are both fit for Arsenal, so they're in the side. Martinelli as well, he was a doubt, he's okay. There's no Jurriën Timber, not involved at all. But in terms of leading scorers, Kai Havertz is back for Arsenal. We thought he might be out for the rest of the season, but he's a substitute for Arsenal today.
Yeah, that's a positive for Arsenal. Probably too late this season to make any real difference, but it's just about consolidating that Champions League place, because if results go against them, they could find themselves unbelievably outside that pack.
Yeah, and needing to get something at Southampton on the final Sunday. So this is 5 Live from the BBC, and welcome everyone as well who's listening around the world to the BBC's World Service. Great to have you here at the Emirates Stadium too. And will you run you through the teams in full? That also Sven Botman fit to play for Newcastle. Dan Burn is just watching this ball back to the edge of his penalty area and knocks it back to Nick Pope. Interesting, Glenn, as well, that Newcastle tried to pull a fast one on Arsenal before the match. They warmed up as a back 4 with Livramento as a right back and Burn as a left back, but in actual fact they're playing as they did last Sunday against Chelsea. So 3 central defenders, but the Arsenal team first. Raya in goal, White, Saliba, Kivior and Lewis Skelly, then Partey, Odegaard and Rice in midfield, Saka, Trossard and Martinelli. The front line, Trossard on the ball at the moment, the number 19 near the halfway line, just has a look forward, still keeping possession of the ball on his right foot, and rolls it across to the captain, Martin Odegaard. Arsenal coming into this match 5 matches without a win in all competitions. They've faltered in the Premier League as well, 3 wins from their last 11 league games. That's why they are in a position, as Glenn has explained, they still haven't nailed down Champions League qualification for next season. The Newcastle team, Pope in goal, Cher, Botman and Burn, the 3 central defenders, Murphy on the right, Livramento on the left, Guimaraes and Tonali, then Barnes, Gordon and Wilson. Still Arsenal in possession. We're in our high commentary position today, up in the top tier, the front of the top tier. So looking to our right, we can see the clock high up there on the clock end, the white face of it, and Arsenal attacking towards it. Odegaard to White. Oh, challenge comes in on White, and Burn got enough of the ball. I thought for a moment he was going to miss that and take out White, but he got enough of it, and it's out of play for a throw.
Yeah, no, your reaction shocked me a little bit there, John. I thought this was quite a good, clean challenge, yes, by Dan Burn, perfectly timed by him. Had a little bit of ground to catch up on Ben White there, who was just drifting away from him, but perfect tackle by the big Geordie.
I'm easily excitable after yesterday, Glenn. I'm surprised you're not. Throw-in taken by Arsenal. Back to Saliba, who goes back towards the halfway line. By the way, if you missed it yesterday, if you're a Crystal Palace fan, you didn't hear it yesterday. You know, these days, if you've got the BBC Sounds app, you can go back in the schedule and listen to the whole thing over again, how it sounded on 5 Live. As Barnes plays one forward, this is for Wilson to chase, down into the full-back position. Wilson, Callum Wilson, just his 3rd start in all competitions, his 2nd start in the Premier League. He's held the ball up well there, gives it back to Livramento. Livramento being challenged by Bukayo Saka, who after tackling and winning it back actually ran it out of play for a throw-in to Newcastle. Yeah, BBC Sounds, go to the home page there, you'll see stations and schedules, click into that and then find yesterday and 5 Live Sport yesterday afternoon. You can listen to the whole Cup final again. Clinton Morrison and Sean Dyche were with me and Ian Dennis for the commentary.
And if you can't find that, John, there's a clip of on Instagram of you, isn't there, just summing up when the final whistle went, and I thought you nailed it.
Yeah, well, it was quite emotional, wasn't it? I mean, I've got no connection with Crystal Palace, unlike you, but I don't think you could avoid the emotion that was swirling around inside Wembley Stadium. Oh, that's a poor clearance by Raya. Tonali now to Wilson. Wilson with a flick, and then the shot from Guimaraes, and saved by Raya. Did well there, made up for his earlier error. They come again, Newcastle. Guimaraes, left foot shot, and that actually hits the head of Kivior, who is able to head it partly away. Gordon's in there, it bounces off him, and Trossard is able to play it forward. First big chance of the match falls to Newcastle, and Raya making the save to make up for his poor delivery.
Yeah, it was a really good save by Raya, because Callum Wilson tries to get it back onto his right-hand side with the Cruyff turn, doesn't quite get there, but he falls for Bruno. Bruno steps onto it. In all honesty, he should do better. He should find the back of the net, but credit to David Raya. Big save early on here at the Emirates.
Should have done, he didn't. Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0. Back to Leicester. Pat Murphy, what's the latest?
John, Jamie Vardy has just been substituted. Milk the applause, quite rightly, deservedly, having got his 200th league goal. And all the players ran to the edge of the area, and they formed a guard of honour and applauded him off. I don't think the Ipswich players are too impressed, because they're 2-0 down.
Thank you, Pat. So that's going to be it. He's not going to play next week. So that is, he finishes 500 appearances and 200 goals.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy that Jamie Vardy's got that 200th goal today. I think it's a special point to get to in his career, and especially for Leicester. And I think the Ipswich players have probably got bigger worries than worrying about Jamie Vardy's guard of honour.
Yes, and I know it's been quite the event today, listening to Pat earlier in the afternoon, and Jamie Vardy likely will begin a hectic round of interviews later. Pat will be close to, if not at the top of the queue. Here's Livramento, plays it back to Byrne, who clears. In the one match today in the Rugby Union Premiership, Harlequins 21, Exeter 19, both of them down near the bottom end of the table. And right now on Sports Extra 2, you can hear Brentford Fulham. So this is new this week. You might not even have heard about it, Glenn. Launched this week. Not only have we got 5 Live and 5 Sports Extra, we now also have Sports Extra 2 and Sports Extra 3, and they're all on BBC Sounds. So Sports Extra 2, Sports Extra 3 can only be found on Sounds, which is at the top of the dial if you go onto the home page of that. And that Sports Extra 2 is where Brentford Fulham commentary is right now. I say that, I'm sure you're fully across all technological developments.
Yeah, but I'm not too bad, John, in all honesty.
Good,
I do listen to a little bit of BBC Sounds every now and again.
Yeah, good.
The home of sport, some would say.
That's very good. Ball's deflected out of play. Ben White, long throw, early throw into the penalty area. That's taken down by Trossard. Trossard works it back, Odegaard with a touch, then back to Partey. A heavy touch from him first of all, bounced away from him, and Tonali, I think it was, who was all over him and able to clear it away.
I think Odegaard was actually trying to cushion that onto his own left foot to try and find that far corner with his next touch, but doesn't quite bring the ball under his spell, falls to Partey, and his touch just a little bit big, allowing the challenge to thwart that shot.
So it is 0-0, Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0. Partey in possession. Arsenal with the red shirts, the white sleeves, white shorts and red socks. And it is slightly different, the Arsenal kit today, because they are wearing, in the modern style, they're wearing next season's home shirts today, the new shirts.
I thought I spotted that, a new jersey on the Arsenal players. Looks nice. They always do it very well, the Arsenal,
yes.
With their kits, I must say. I think they're one of the best in the Premier League for their designs.
Yes. There's not an awful lot you can do, is there, with a red body and white sleeves?
Iconic,
But,
John.
yeah, they do change it from time to time. And likewise, Newcastle in their home kit as well. Their first choice kit, the black and white stripes, black shorts and black socks with the white tops. So throwing in the right back area, which is taken up towards the halfway line. Wilson goes down. He thinks he was fouled. Referee Simon Hooper does not agree. Play continues with Ben White. Eddie Howe down there on the edge of the coaching area. Both clubs still need points to confirm their Champions League places for next season. Here is Partey through to the edge of the area. Odegaard into the box now, tries to flip it forward. He actually scooped it up into the arm of Livramento, who could do nothing about that. Struck him on the upper arm from close quarters, and actually it bounces away. Newcastle breakaway, and here is Livramento now approaching the corner of the box. Gordon with a flick, back to Livramento, who shoots straight at Raya, who is able to go down to his left and gather the ball into his chest.
Oh, it's wonderful football by Newcastle, though, isn't it? Bruno sweeps it out to Livramento. Livramento just finds that inward run of Gordon, who flicks it back into Livramento's path. I think the left back has got to do better, got to have a little bit more purchase on that shot, ask more questions of David Raya, because it was a relatively easy save, but wonderful football, sweeping football from Newcastle.
It's another poor ball out from Raya. Barnes, now Guimarães tried to pass the ball through to Wilson, however back to Tonali, hits a shot, that's blocked. Arsenal player inside the penalty area, I think it hit Declan Rice, bounces away. Here's Martinelli into the match for the first time, over the halfway line the Brazilian goes, but Fabian Schär is with him, but Martinelli, that's a lovely ball across field for Odegaard in the sunshine, kicks it into the shadows towards the edge of the area, and then Guimarães in with the challenge, and it bounces away out of play for a throw into Arsenal down the right hand side. Now Harlequins 21, Exeter 22, the latest score. Arsenal take the throw. Here is William Saliba, playing his 100th Premier League match here this afternoon. Odegaard, it runs away from him, and Livramento's got it in the full-back position. As Gordon, I think, was caught there by White. No, referee Hooper doesn't think so. So Arsenal have got it back just outside the area. Gordon has stayed down. Now White again. Odegaard, left corner of the box. Left-footed ball into the penalty area. That's headed up and away out of the penalty area. And Lewis Skelly with a header back to Kivior. Gordon is back up on his feet. Simon Hooper wasn't having that he'd been caught by the raised boot of White. In the Super League, Wakefield 34, Warrington 10 is still the latest score. There's Arsenal with Partey to Martinelli, and then Partey again. Odegaard out towards the left-hand side. Lewis Skelly approaching the box, gives it to his left, to Trossard, who goes for the byline. Defender dives in, Murphy. Still Trossard drags it back and shoots right across the face of goal. Took a flick from a Newcastle player, says the referee, who was near to behind the line of the shot. It's a corner.
Very nice from Leandro Trossard, goes to the byline, cuts back, chops in. Jacob Murphy just goes sliding past, then drifts past Harvey Barnes, and he's opening that angle all the time. He travels with the ball, and he sweeps it towards that far left-hand corner. Just gets a tiny nick from a Newcastle defender and out for a corner.
That's the best we've seen from Arsenal yet, isn't it, in an attacking sense? David Raya now at the other end, though. I think he's 3 times now given the ball away. So a corner for Arsenal from the right. Bukayo Saka to take this. Saka takes it into the near post, and it's deflected goalwards. And Pope, I think, got an arm to that.
I think that is one of the saves of the season. Wow, what a save. I'm not sure how much he knows about it. He just makes himself big, the old Schmeichel star, as big as possible, arms either side of him. And it's an absolutely extraordinary save, because this is goal bound. Thomas Partey meets it, heads it towards goal, and it's actually Pope's right bicep that just helps it up and over the bar.
It was a very good save, but there was a touch of fortune about it, certainly. So here's another corner from the same side. Saka takes it short to Trossard, then gets it back. Saka then lays it on for Odegaard, who shoots wildly and widely, and into the Newcastle fans who are here in their thousands. Ross County 1, Motherwell 1. Equaliser for Motherwell from Ibai. So 1-1 still remains. St Johnstone 0, Dundee 1. We'll hear from Gavin Wallace, I'm sure, shortly. All 3 o'clock matches, those matches today in the bottom half of the Premiership. Still Kilmarnock 0, Hearts 0. So Glenn Murray.
Yeah, just thinking about Odegaard there shooting. One man, I think when you assess his season, probably had a slight drop off from the season before, and they will be looking towards him to pick that up next season and drive this squad on without any doubt.
It's been such a hectic afternoon. Even though we referenced it, we've not really had a chance to cover the as Newcastle come forward. Murphy's cross into the area. Kiwior, Raya came for it, but Kiwior went for it, the central defender, the Polish international, and his header up into the air, and Arsenal have cleared it out for a throw.
Well, every time Newcastle go forward, they look very dangerous. They look that they could score any moment. They just drift towards the Arsenal 18-yard box. In fact, Arsenal, lauded for the defence, seem all at sea this afternoon.
Still no Gabriel, of course. And Josh Kroenke, the co-chair, has written an article in the match programme today as Barnes sets off for Newcastle from the halfway line, still going and shoots low, and Raya had to get a fingertip to that, his left hand diving down to his left. It wasn't the most firmly hit shot, so it gave Raya a chance, but he still had to, at full length, after it took a deflection, push it round the post.
It's quite a wicked deflection. You say it didn't have much pace on it. That's because it takes quite a chunky deflection off Thomas Partey, and David Raya has to change his body shape and go the opposite direction, and he managed to get his fingertips on it. Well, the ball at his feet has been terrible, but shot stopping has been absolutely outstanding so far this afternoon.
It has. So it's still Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0. 5 live in the World Service. Corner for Newcastle there first from the right hand side, which is worked back to Tonali, puts his foot on it, the Italian, then the cross. Kiwior gets his head to that, and with a little glance off the old eyebrows, sends it across his goal and behind for a corner.
I was watching Callum Wilson because he's just about to kiss that with his forehead, and as soon as Kiwior glances at where his hands went on his head, a couple of times Callum Wilson has been lurking and ready. Arsenal have done enough to get it away.
Yes, lurkio, as Frankie Howard used to say. So it's a corner from the left-hand side. Tonali to take this. Going to go to Brentford, Fulham again in a moment. Fulham 3-2 up last we heard. But Newcastle with a corner. Tonali curls it in and headed by Burns, saved by Raya, and follow-up as well. Raya scoops it off the line. I think it was Botman with the follow-up. Double save from the Arsenal goalkeeper, and the first one a super save from Burn.
Oh, wow, well, what an afternoon David Raya's having.
It's coming again for Newcastle. Wilson allows it to drop over his shoulder, and Kiwior was able to just stab it behind as the ball bounced up for another Newcastle corner.
There just doesn't seem to be much communication back there with Raya. No one's really congratulating him. Even when he's made bad passes with his feet, no one's really tearing a strip off him. There just doesn't seem to be much in this Arsenal group, but it's a wonderful header by Dan Burn down to Raya's left-hand side, and comes back at him. He manages to kick it away with his feet, and I have that as his 5th or 6th top save this afternoon.
He's rivalling Dean Henderson from yesterday. Another Newcastle corner. Tonali to the near post. Cher trying to get there, bounces across the penalty area though. So that last double save, first from Burns' header, then from Botman's follow-up, and now Gordon. Somehow it's still 0-0. Anthony Gordon, here's Wilson on the left-hand side. I have to say, in the early stages here, Callum Wilson, veteran stage of his career now, 33 years old. He looks
Does that
like...
qualify for veteran, 33, John?
I think it does. Guimaraes thinking about a shot, then rolls it out towards the right-hand side. Tonali's low ball in, but straight at Declan Rice, who's able to take it out over there to the far side. To me, Callum Wilson looks like a guy who knows these are his final minutes, really, playing for Newcastle United. He looks in the mood, despite his veteran status. Trossard heads it forward now to Martinelli. Newcastle have had a good spell, now Arsenal looking to respond. Martinelli against Tonali. Trossard edge of the area, in comes the challenge on him. Excellent work from Murphy, who comes out with the ball, and then challenge from Trossard, concedes a free kick. Newcastle free kick halfway inside their own half. Bruno Guimaraes it was who was fouled by Trossard, who it was with the initial tackle on the edge of the box. So typical Bruno Guimaraes play. More from Glenn Murray in a moment, but as promised, back to Brentford John Southall.
Well, John, it's Brentford 2, Fulham 3, 89 minutes on the clock. Christian Norgard almost level things up at the back post with a header. Brilliant save by Leno to his left-hand side. Brentford 2, Fulham 3.
Yes, and commentary Sports Extra 2 on BBC Sounds. Flo Pollock and Michael Brown are there. I was with Michael last night after the cup final. I met his dad, Michael's dad, Rob. And I was asking Rob if Michael was as naughty when he was a little boy as he is now, and that was duly confirmed by Brown Senior.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
That did not surprise me
in all honesty
either. He was telling me to mention to you, Michael, that not everything went your way this weekend after Friday night in Darren Fletcher's 5 Live Sport.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Did he get some points?
He did? Yeah, big points. So he's sitting pretty. As Newcastle. It's been a good match, hasn't it, so far, this?
Well,
20 minutes played, 0-0.
It's been good for us, but I'm not sure it's been good for Arsenal so far. Newcastle are very much in the ascendancy in this game.
Arsenal, who lost here to Bournemouth. And this is good as well, as Bruno Guimaraes finds space for Gordon down the left, and Gordon trying to pull it across, actually plays it into the legs of Saliba, and it's behind, and it's another Newcastle corner.
Well, I'm just looking down at Mikel Arteta, not very animated as he usually is, and in all honesty, it's just a little bit too easy for Newcastle going forward. They're carving opportunities at ease.
Harlequin's back in front. Harlequin's 24, Exeter 22. Tonali, one of, in fact, probably Newcastle's player of the season. The Italian comes across, orange boots, jet black hair, right-footed delivery, edge of the 6-yard box, and Burn there again. Although I think the referee perhaps spotted something there. Did he give a free kick? I think Burn headed it over the top anyway.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he didn't quite get the same direction on as the last one. Very similar corner, but I think there's it's actually Trossard and Bruno coming together again, which seems to be a common theme at the moment. But some comment that, John, Tonali was their player of the season when the striker's got 23 goals. You must have played very well.
Well, I think he has played very well, Glenn.
I agree.
Yes. I think if you ask Newcastle fans, I think that's a close call.
The first man to hit 20 for how many years for Newcastle in the Premier League? Well, and then you've got the homegrown centre-back in Dan Burn.
Yes, that's right.
There's a lot in the category.
A lot of contenders. Sounds like one for 606 later on 5 Live. Who is Newcastle's player of the season? Here's Partey, who's going to play it out to the left. Going to go to Leicester in a moment. I think it's all over there. Leicester on the way to victory last we heard. Comes back towards the halfway line, so let's bring in Pat Murphy.
So beat Ipswich 2-0. Vardy got his 200th goal for Leicester. Just about half an hour's play, classical finish across the keeper, low to his right. McAteer, good goal, narrow angle midway through the second half. They played well, Leicester. There'll be a lot of presentations, a few tears subsequently as the players gather in the centre circle for the official presentations. Leicester 2, Ipswich 0.
Yes, he'll be much missed at Leicester City, and it will be absolutely fascinating, I think, to see where Jamie Vardy pitches up next. Here's Lewis Skelly, who plays it out to the left-hand side to Trossard. This is in front of those Newcastle supporters. Trossard bringing it in field. He's got the teenager Lewis Skelly on the outside. The cross, though, is overhit over everyone. Down into the opposite full-back position where Ben White is able to play it back up the line for Odegaard. And then Arsenal go all the way back to the 2 central defenders who are parked 10 yards inside the Newcastle half. If you've just switched on to us 5 Live in the World Service, Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0. Arsenal know that if they win this match, that will be enough to confirm Champions League football for next season. Arsenal, though, lose possession. Jacob Murphy has won it back, playing as the right wing back again. Murphy, who's been another impressive performer for Newcastle this season, is actually outpaced by the recovering Trossard, who did very well and gets a good hand from the Arsenal fans.
Yeah, good recovery run, 50 metres, managed to outpace Jacob Murphy there. But I'm just watching the game, and what Newcastle do very well against Arsenal is once Arsenal get any possession, they're happy to sit back and they frustrate Arsenal into crossing the ball where they've got three giants waiting for them, and it's going to have to be something very special if Arsenal are going to break Newcastle down from across an area.
Yes, one of those giants, Botman, just comes forward and heads it away, but Arsenal come again with the right back. Ben White all the way into the area. Oh, he was challenged there and went down. Dan Burn with a challenge, but I think the ball had already gone from White by the time the contact came from Burn, and Simon Hooper's ignoring that. And even though Martin Odegaard goes across there and just said something on the way past him, it's Newcastle's ball. It's out for a throw.
Yeah, I think Dan Burn actually slides to block the shot. He doesn't actually contact Ben White, and it's Bruno from the other side who comes back, gets a good chunk of the ball, also the man, but good defending by Newcastle. Better by Arsenal.
Yes, Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0. Yeah, Sven Botman, who's missed such a large amount of this season. Remember, he had a knee injury in ACL, so didn't come back till January. So this only his 9th appearance of the season, just his 7th start, playing as the middle man of these three Newcastle central defenders. As Newcastle come forward, Jamal Lascelles is on the bench again today. He's not played at all this season, the club captain. In fact, his most significant contribution was hanging on to one of the handles of the League Cup, wasn't it, when it was presented to Trippier and Guimarães and Jamal Lascelles. Here's Murphy, and then Murphy continues his run and receives it back from Barnes. Challenge comes in and it's out of play for a throw on the far side. And another one actually from the injured list, Joe Willock, the former Arsenal man, who was a doubt for this game as well. Willock is among the Newcastle substitutes today. If you just switch on, no Alexander Isak for Newcastle. It's a groin problem that seemed to develop on the way down yesterday with the Newcastle squad. Experienced some stiffness, Eddie Howe said before the match. It's 0-0 here, Newcastle playing it forward. Burn now, his pass into centre field. Kivior gets up and heads that away, and Lewis Skelly, left-footed, drives it forward but overhits it through, and Nick Pope has got it on the edge of the box. Pope, who made that excellent save from the glancing Party header from the corner, sort of threw it his arms. As you said at the time, Glenn, it was like a star jump. His arms were above his head, and the glancing header, I mean, he did adjust, he did save it, but it was a reaction save, but his arms were in the right place at the right time.
Well, David Raya has definitely been the busier of the two goalkeepers, but I think Nick Pope has probably made the best save of the afternoon. The only one he's made, but they'll be a contender for save of the season.
Burn with a long pass over the top down the left for Gordon. Gordon's onto this, crosses to the near post, Raya dives, Wilson was coming in, no one got a touch, and then there's a foul on Lewis Skelly by Barnes inside the box, and it's a free kick to Arsenal. Newcastle causing problems for Arsenal again and again.
Yeah, it's too easy for Newcastle. Gordon just makes that run behind Ben White, and the first thing he's thinking is, can I find that front post, can I find my striker? And it's Callum Wilson who's crashing across, doesn't quite time his run right, and another chance goes begging for Newcastle.
So Leicester have beaten Ipswich 2-0. They are still playing, aren't they? Brentford, Fulham, with Fulham 3-2 up. That must almost be over. We'll be back there as soon as it is. 0-0 here. Everton winning 2-0 against Southampton in the last match for the men's team at Goodison Park, that you may have heard our coverage of earlier. The last time that we'll hear Z-Cars played as the men walk out at Goodison Park. Here's Rice carrying it on, and Rice shooting, but no power behind it. Direction wasn't right either, and Nick Pope was able to move just down to his left and make the save. So still 0-0, and here is the full-time news from John Southall.
And the Fulham fans are celebrating. Brentford 2, Fulham 3. Terrific game. Brentford led 2-1 at half-time, but 2 goals in 2 second-half minutes won the game for Fulham. Tom Kearney headed in the equaliser, and a quite brilliant winner from Harry Wilson. Must have been 30 yards out. Exquisite strike into the left corner, and his goals have won both games against Brentford this season. Fulham won by 3 goals to 2.
Newcastle sweeping forward again through the middle. Livramento and Barnes. Now Murphy's cross to the back post. Saliba got his head to that, and it drops into the full-back position. Gordon is onto this. Gordon's got Dan Burn behind him, and Gordon goes back to Tonali. Now I'm hearing there's been a late goal in the St Johnstone Dundee match. Gavin Wallace.
Yes, there has, and it's been for Dundee. Lyle Cameron from the spot. Zayed Larakech was upended inside the box. Cameron, in his last game for Dundee before he heads off to Rangers, sent Ross Sinclair the wrong way. St Johnstone 0, Dundee 2. They are safe, John.
Thank you, Gavin. Still Ross County 1, Motherwell 1, Kilmarnock 0, Hearts 1. And in the Premier League now, Glenn, with Nottingham Forest's win in our earlier commentary match. So the table right now, so this is there's Newcastle break forward with Gordon and then Partey in with a challenge, but it's bounced to Wilson. Now Livramento's able to get it down on the left hand side. Gordon makes his run. He wanted the pass from Livramento, it didn't come, and Livramento, in trying to chip it across, has actually just given it to Saliba, who said thank you very much. And now Livramento out of position. Long pass from Martinelli. Oh, Nick Pope's come a long, long way, and he gets there first, the Newcastle goalkeeper, and he clouts it with his right foot into the middle tier of the Emirates Stadium. They get the ball off one of the cones, take a quick throw, but Newcastle are back in position now.
Well, I think Nick Pope was quicker getting back than he was coming out there, because he knew that they were going to get the ball off the cones and he needed to get back in his goal line.
Here's Saka now. Saka into the box, pulls it back, and the chance near the penalty spot from Trossard. His shot deflected wide of the goal to the right, and it's a corner for Arsenal.
Yeah, that's probably the loudest the Emirates has been so far this afternoon, coming to life a little bit, the atmosphere here. But if they are going to break Newcastle down from wide areas, I think it is going to be that cutback. No good slinging balls in against these centre-halves.
It has finished Ross County 1, Motherwell 1, and also Kilmarnock 0, Hearts 1, full-time scores. We'll be back to Gavin Wallace in a moment. Here's the corner, which is taken short by Arsenal, but Gordon's able to put in the challenge, and it's out for a throw. It has finished St Johnstone 0, Dundee 2. Corner, throw-in rather, near the corner flag for Arsenal. Down to our right, not absolutely full, the Emirates, but a bigger crowd than there was for the previous home Premier League match against Bournemouth when I was here. But still, probably, I don't know, maybe late 50,000s. There's a lot of sort of empty seats dotted around. It's another corner for Arsenal from the right-hand side. Bukayo Saka comes across to take this. So let's have a look. Saliba and Kivior and Partey and White now all at the back post. The previous corner from this side, that was the one where Partey had the near post header that was saved by Pope. Now the movement begins. Saka with the in-swinging left-footed corner. Delivery now to the near post. Pope comes for it, and that deflection from him, he threw himself in amongst a whole throng of bodies and got something on it to flap it behind for another corner.
Yeah, when they're trying to put it into that near post area, it's a real fight ball, isn't it? Because as Newcastle set up there was only one Newcastle player, that was Anthony Gordon, outside their own 6-yard box.
So another one, same drill. Bukayo Saka, corner from the right. Seeing the movement beginning now, lots of pushing and shoving, all manner of it. Saka's poor delivery, most unlike him, and easily cleared away by Wilson, although it might bounce out by Murphy. It might bounce out, it has, for another corner, so a third consecutive corner.
Well, surely this movement is leaving Declan Rice on the edge of the box absolutely in acres of space. I just wonder if they're being cute and on this third opportunity they're going to try and find their captain.
Yes, the set-piece coach is watching on, Nicolas Javert. No, they take it short again, and then Saka gets it back and then plays it back to Lewis Skelly, and Lewis Skelly plays it in. I think he might have put too much on it. He has. It drops beyond Partey, who stuck out a leg but couldn't get any contact on it, and it's behind, and it's a goal kick, and it's still Arsenal 0, Newcastle United 0, with just over 10 minutes to go here at the Emirates Stadium. And it has finished Harlequins 24, Exeter 22. So a thrilling finish there. Going back to the Premier League table, Glenn, so Liverpool clear, obviously champions, 83 points, but then second to seventh, Arsenal 68 points, Newcastle 66, Chelsea 66, Aston Villa 66, Manchester City 65 and Nottingham Forest 65. That's how tight it is. And
Manchester City with the game in hand.
With the game in hand, correct, against Bournemouth on Tuesday night. Here is Lewis Skelly playing it back to Kivior driving it in all the way across the 6-yard box and behind for a goal kick. And what that means is that, as has been flagged up for quite a long time, we can now say, can't we, that Nottingham Forest-Chelsea match next Sunday afternoon, when all of the final Premier League matches kick off at 4 o'clock, that is going to be the decider. Nottingham Forest and Chelsea on the final Sunday.
Well, it's been billed like that for a long time. We did expect that, didn't we, for a number of weeks, and there's so many ways this could go. But yeah, it has that City ground. That last fixture there is going to be some game of football.
Yeah, I think I can say with some certainty that is going to be the 5 Live commentary match next Sunday afternoon. And the noise you heard there, by the way, just watching him now, Kai Havertz, who has come out to warm up, having been out since February when he picked up that injury, tore his hamstring. Remember when Arsenal went to Dubai for the warm weather training to set themselves up for the big push at the end of the season, and ended up losing Kai Havertz to a torn hamstring. So, warmly welcome back, and still being put through his paces, just warming up gently down there to our left near the corner flag. Here is Saliba to Kivior, and now Lewis Skelly on the left hand side. Lewis Skelly, lovely little glide from him, foot to foot. Then Kivior, Martinelli again in the full-back position, Martinelli, and then the cross is blocked by Murphy. He's saying, Murphy, that it bounced back off Martinelli and behind, but referee Hooper was adamant it's a corner. Another corner. This is number 7 for Arsenal.
Last 5 minutes has been much better by Arsenal. They've had a better foothold in the game. They've stopped Newcastle progressing up the field, and they're starting to put a little bit of pressure on.
Also full-time in the Super League, the first of the 2 matches today. It's finished Wakefield Trinity 40, Warrington 10. So Castleford, Salford, 5:30 kick-off. Commentary on that on Sports Extra 2 on BBC Sounds. Corner for Arsenal from the left this time, after a string of corners from the other side. Rice takes this one very, very deep to the back post. It's headed back out by Saliba towards the edge of the penalty area. Newcastle half clear it. Odegaard though. Back to Lewis Skelly, and then Trossard, who was doubtful for this game, one of a number of Arsenal players who picked up niggles last Sunday afternoon, if you were listening, when Arsenal came from 2-0 down at half-time at Anfield to make it 2-2 in front of an angry Mikel Arteta. He was very touchy, as you probably heard after that match. Tonali is being fouled by White, and it's a free kick to Newcastle, halfway inside their own half. So yes, this time next week, all of the final round of Premier League matches kicking off at the same time. And as I say, I would strongly suspect that Nottingham Forest-Chelsea will be our commentary match on the afternoon that Liverpool will be presented with the Premier League trophy. Liverpool against Crystal Palace, of course, Glenn. As Botman plays it through to Livramento on the run through the middle. Livramento is challenged by Partey, who was behind him, but got a foot in on it against the left wing back. Oh, Groans, they've given it away. Arsenal to Tonali. Tonali into Wilson. Wilson tees it up for Barnes, but his shot was blocked at source by Saliba. And Arsenal, well, Partey dwelt on the ball. And a lady behind us was telling Partey to get rid of it. He didn't, and Gordon won it back. She's just apologised, actually.
Do you not want to say exactly what she said, John?
I think that'd probably be unwise, Glenn. But she has apologised in case anyone picked that up. Here is Barnes, carries it on towards the edge of the penalty area, then lays it back to Bruno Guimaraes, who does the full 360, and then, I thought he'd found the pass through past Lewis Skelly, but the youngster stuck out a leg, stopped it from reaching Murphy, and then that's clever as well from Trossard, who drew Bruno Guimaraes and just scooped it over to the left-hand side to Declan Rice. It's been quite quiet in the game, Declan Rice, actually, having had an injury that kept him out of Anfield last weekend. Odegaard now out to the right-hand side. Bukayo Saka is there. It's Saka against Byrne. Gordon comes and helps him out. Saka tried to go between them. I thought he was pulled back there. Referee says no. I thought Gordon put his hand on his shoulder, but no free kick, and Newcastle have it again. 38 minutes played here at the Emirates Stadium under high clouds. There's the odd spot of blue sky up there. The sun has appeared sporadically not as warm as it was inside Wembley yesterday afternoon. Barnes now to Wilson in the D. Challenges come in on him. Partey again, and then Arsenal have possession of the ball back. Trossard gets a nice bounce of the ball off Murphy, and then actually turns and plays it back into central defence again. So at half-time, which is coming up 5 or 6 minutes' time, we'll have more on all of those earlier scores, and I'm sure more as well on the final events at Goodison Park today. Everton bowing out with the 2-0 win, and we will hear from David Moyes on all of that, so that's worth listening out for. And if you were there and you're listening to us on 5 Live, Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton, I'm sure, would love to hear your experiences of Goodison Park today, and whether you shed a tear or not. Very good win for Nottingham Forest, 2-1 at West Ham. As discussed, Fulham 3-2 winners at Brentford, and Leicester on Jamie Vardy Day winning 2-0 against Ipswich. Newcastle coming forward again, but overhit, and Raya, who's been one of the players of the first half, picks the ball up, claims he was impeded by Wilson and sort of wriggles away from him. A bit like a rugby league player, wasn't he, Raya, the way that he sort of wriggled away from Guimaraes and then gave the ball out, and then Saka is fouled halfway inside his own half.
Yeah, made a lot of it, the Arsenal goalkeeper, the Dan Burn, making sure that Saka's not going to skip by him. He came a long way out of defence there, did the big Geordie. But the game's drifting a little bit, and Newcastle, I think when you assess the first half in total as we tick towards half-time, Eddie Howe will be a little bit disappointed that his team haven't found the back of the net. They've been in some brilliant positions, haven't quite picked the right option when in those positions, have they, John?
No. And that's part of the reason why it's still 0-0 here. And a draw would take Arsenal to 69 points, and in actual fact, because of superior goal difference, that would be enough for Arsenal to be super confident of Champions League football next season. It would be, it would be all but mathematically confirmed. A point would be enough for Arsenal.
Yeah, I think it's the manner, isn't it? That's why the Emirates feels typically flat today. I think the lead that they had in that second place and being in a title race, to now be limping into Champions League places, it's been a bit of a disappointing season, let's say, for Arsenal fans. And this article, as Wilson goes down but doesn't win the free kick, this article from Josh Kroenke, which is very frank, the co-chair, and this is a message to the supporters. It's like an end-of-season message, and he starts off in the column praising the women's team, who of course will play in the Champions League final on Saturday. You'll hear the commentary from Lisbon with us on 5 Live, Arsenal against Barcelona. But when he gets onto the men's team, he doesn't pull his punches, does he? Talks about how Arsenal on the men's front have fallen short of what we all wanted to achieve this season, as the ball is played through, but Nick Pope is able to come out and gather it quite comfortably. And he says, Josh Kroenke, we plan to invest to get behind winning and doing better next season. You can't say it more plainly than that. Well, there's saying it and there's doing it, John. Let's see what this summer holds. But I'm sure that top of that list will be a number 9.
Yes. Here is Partey in the centre circle. Partey to his left to Lewis Skelly, who carries it on, and his cross across the penalty area. Trossard's able to bring it down under some pressure, and it actually, in the end, it bounces away from him. Barnes, little ball forward from him. Bruno Guimaraes is able to take it on into the Arsenal half, but Arsenal were able to get back, and Trossard actually got his toe into that and stabbed it out of play. The question was whether it came off Guimaraes. I think it did for an Arsenal throw.
Well, I must say that if Alexander Isak was playing in this Newcastle team, I do think they would be ahead, because Callum Wilson hasn't quite got that speed he once did have to threaten him behind, but again, been in so many good positions. Gordon breaking that line. Livramento's been rolling in from this left-hand side into that kind of midfield position and caused Arsenal all sorts of problems. Just lacked that finishing touch.
Yeah, do you remember how? I mean, he was superb here, wasn't he? In the first leg of the League Cup semi-final.
Well, there's that stat today, isn't there? Newcastle have beaten Arsenal 3 times this season.
Yep, that's right.
And Arsenal have never been beaten 4 times in a season by one particular opponent. It would be a first time ever if Newcastle got a result here today.
Yes, we could, for the second time this weekend, Glenn, see something that we've never witnessed before.
Or the 3rd time this season with Newcastle's trophy as well.
And well, that as well. Although the Intercities Fairs Cup was in my toddler days. Result in the county championship, by the way, Worcestershire have beaten Essex by 225 runs, and all of those matches you can hear commentary on those, lots of it on Sports Extra.
Which
2
one?
and 3.
Oh, there we go. 2.
Every match.
Oh.
Every match. Commentary, ball by ball, in the county championship.
The home of sport.
The very home of sport, as it's been dubbed. Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0. Rice heading it forward. Trossard takes it away from Guimaraes back into his own half. It's remarkable, really, that we haven't had a goal in this first half. Some of the saves that Raya and indeed Pope have come up with. As there is a foul by Callum Wilson on the halfway line on Lewis Skelly. Arsenal take a quick free kick across to White. It comes. 45 minutes are almost up. The 4th official, Andy Madley, is I thought he'd have his electronic board sorted out, but he hasn't yet. And in that, there's a good reason for that, because he's not going to hold it up, because the whistle's gone after 45 minutes. Half-time, 0-0, but the goalkeepers have been the main players.
Yeah, stars of the show. Nick Pope with an outstanding save, and David Raya with a number of very, very good saves. Newcastle are better of the team, but still 0-0 here at the Emirates at half-time.
But as I say, a point would be good enough for Arsenal because of their superior goal difference. Their Champions League qualification with this result would be all but absolutely mathematically guaranteed. And Newcastle would need something on the final day against Everton at St James's Park to confirm their Champions League place. However, still 45 minutes to go, and in the bright sunshine now here in North London, Arsenal 0, Newcastle United 0 is the half-time score.
Thank you very much, both. Lots to get through between now and second half commentary from the Emirates. We're going to hear from Nottingham Forest's Anthony Elanga. We'll hear from David Moyes as well after those emotional scenes at Goodison Park. Hopefully we'll hear from Jamie Vardy, who got that 200th goal for Leicester City in his final appearance this afternoon. Sonia Bonpastor on the way as well after Chelsea completed the treble. So lots to get through. We'll also speak to Robbie Savage ahead of 6:06 08085 909 693. Let's get the news with Sarah Green.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The Conservatives are warning the government not to go back on what they call hard-won Brexit freedoms ahead of an expected deal with the EU. Ministers say they're confident about improving the trade of food and drink products and reducing queues for British travellers. But the Shadow Cabinet Office Minister, Alex Burkhart, says the government needs to be clear on its red lines.
The government can't tell us everything whilst the negotiation's going on. But if you go into a negotiation without being very clear about what you want to protect and very clear about what you want to achieve, it's very hard to get a good deal.
The Israeli military says it's begun extensive ground operations in northern and southern Gaza as part of plans to dismantle Hamas. Palestinian health officials say at least 130 people were killed in overnight strikes. A 16-year-old boy who died following a disturbance on Irvine Beach in North Ayrshire yesterday evening has been named as Caden Moy. Police say several people were filming on their phones around the time of the incident. They're being urged to come forward. Ukraine's President Zelensky says the Vatican is ready to host talks between Kyiv and Moscow. He met the Pope in Rome this afternoon after Leo XIV was officially inaugurated at a mass in St Peter's Square. Mr Zelensky also held talks with the US Vice President J.D. Vance. Joe Inwood is our World News correspondent.
We don't know that much about exactly how long it lasted, and I tell you what, to have been a fly on the wall in that conversation would have been very interesting. 'Cause it's worth remembering these two men, the last time they met, it wasn't the most diplomatic of engagements. It was this famous bust-up in the White House. We understand they did talk about the situation on the front line and also the need for these ceasefire talks.
And Austrian singer JJ has arrived in Vienna after winning last night's Eurovision Song Contest in Basel. He was met by huge crowds as he thanked fans and showed off the iconic glass trophy.
Weekdays from 2, join me, Matt Chorley, for the show that has now officially got all of Westminster talking. From Keir Starmer,
the only door is bomb-proof.
Ed Davey, Rachel Weaves,
the balloons are burst.
Lindsay Hoyle,
she was mowing the lawn yesterday.
Boris Johnson,
pants on fire liars.
And now, after intense negotiations,
Kemi, do you want to come on 5 Live?
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch.
I put sugar in my tea, 4 very small teaspoons.
Matt Chorley.
Back Monday from 2. Ask your smart speaker.
Play BBC Radio 5 Live. This is 5 Live Sport.
With Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0, half-time in the Premier League, second half commentary to follow. Premier League full times, Leicester 2, Ipswich 0, Brentford 2, Fulham 3, West Ham 1, Nottingham Forest 2 and Everton 2, Southampton 0 as Everton's men's team sign off 133 years of memories at Goodison Park. Here is their manager, David Moyes.
It was extraordinary, the atmosphere inside the stadium. I have to say the crowd was amazing, as it was outside before the game was something else. Look, the job was to win the game today, see ourselves out of Goodison in a good light, and clean sheet, 2 goals today, so certainly no complaints.
All you can ask for, really, David, isn't it? Only 3 managers have managed more games for Everton than you have. You have been here for a long time. You've got so many memories. What stands out to you?
Well, I think my arrival here in the first time, it was probably a brave decision by Bill Kenwright and Sir Philip Carter to appoint me manager at the time, but I really enjoyed it. I grew into it, and it certainly gave me every chance to progress. And quite often when you're a young manager, you need people who are going to support you and help you. I had times at Everton where I maybe didn't do quite so well, but I knew they were there behind me. So I think when you're young, you need that support. So I can only thank them when I first came in at the job. But I think generally, this club, the support here is immense, and it's needing some form of success. Today for them's been a day they've been waiting on for so long, maybe 10, 15 years for a new stadium coming, and we're about to get it now, and they're about to leave this one, but it was right that we tried to finish in the right fashion.
David Moyes speaking to Betty Glover. 08085 909 693. The line's open for 606 with Chris Sutton and Robbie Savage. Afternoon, Rob.
Afternoon, Steve. How are you?
Yeah, very good. That was special that today, wasn't it?
Yeah, listen, I watched it on the TV. It looked emotional. It looked, a brilliant occasion. All the legends there, but inevitably, Everton give their fans a good send off with the 2-0 win. So yeah, Goodison will be missed by the men's team, but it's great to see it staying for the women's team. That's amazing. So want to hear from Everton fans. We had a few on last night. Emotional fans. What about Arsenal, Newcastle 0-0? What a win for Forest, Steve. They played Chelsea on the last day. Wow, that's going to be an incredible game. Villa go to Manchester United. Boreham Wood, Steve, getting up to the National League, and I'm currently watching Scunthorpe against Chester. 1-0 to Scunthorpe at the minute. I think that Scunthorpe might have a penalty, though. I'm not too sure. I think they might. We'll have to see. But whoever wins goes to the National League, Steve. So it's going to be a good 606, 08085 909 693.
Yeah, Dundee staying up in the Scottish Premiership. Chelsea winning the Women's FA Cup as well.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Loads going on.
It is a penalty. Chester have a penalty to equalise on the hour mark.
I'm ahead of you. They've scored.
I'm watching it. Right.
1-0. Right. Cheers, Rob. Have a good one later.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
08085 909 693. Let's get a bit more reaction to Nottingham Forest then. The top of the Premier League, by the way, around those Champions League places, is just crazy. So as it stands, because obviously it's Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0 at the moment, Newcastle 67 points in third, Nottingham Forest 65 points in 7th. So that final day of the season, when, as we keep telling you, Forest are going to play Chelsea, and I'm absolutely sure we'll be bringing you full commentary on 5 Live, is going to be remarkable. It is that way because Forest got the win that they needed. 2-1 at the London Stadium against West Ham this afternoon. There were 11 minutes of added time. Took 6 minutes for VAR to allow Nikola Milenkovic's second half goal to stand. So how did that long delay affect the players? We can hear from Forest Anthony Elanga.
It's frustrating because the longer you wait, the stiffer you become. come. You just want to keep on moving. I think we had the momentum on going 2-0 up. You want momentum, and I think that slowed the momentum a bit down. And I think that's why after the goal we was under the cuff a little bit for 5-10 minutes. But then we got back into it and we wanted to create more opportunities. But I feel like as a team, we've got to be more. We got to keep going for more. If we're winning 2-0, we've got to keep going for 3, 4, 5. We can't sit back and just let them apply pressure to us, because that's when we concede. So I think for something we need to improve is we just need to keep going. We can't stop, and if we score 2 goals, we've got to keep scoring 2 more. So yeah.
With everything at stake, what was it like playing those 16 minutes of added time when you know that the win's so important to keeping the possibility of Champions League football alive?
I feel like we've had really good defending stats this year, and I was quite confident when the referee put the 11 minutes at a time that I was going to see it through. Got 3 great centre backs and good full backs as well to help us do that. But yeah, it was stressful, but I'm just happy that we got it done.
That is Anthony Elanga. Massive win that for Nottingham Forest. Huge day for Chelsea women. Domestic treble for them. They beat Manchester United in the Women's FA Cup final by 3-0. Here's their head coach, Sonia Bonpastor, talking about her team's success this season.
Domestically, I think it could have been better than that. It's almost perfect, ideal. And I think it didn't sink in yet, just because being able to achieve that for your first season, I think when we reflect from the beginning, I had to come and to replace Emma, which was a really difficult job because, she did an incredible job in Chelsea. And I think, the transition was huge. And of course, I need to say all the credit to my players, but also to my staff, because you can't achieve that by yourself. Just the fact we were able to achieve the treble this season, it's just the recognition of all this work.
Sonia Bonpastor, heck of a week for them. Unbeaten season, domestic treble, and new investment, big investment as well, from the owner of Reddit, Alexis Ohanian. Ohanian's actually been speaking to the BBC's Joe Curry at Wembley, and she asked him how happy he is to be a big investor now in Chelsea.
Well, look, I'm certainly grateful. I think it is a testament to what my team at 776 has done, building Angel City, LA Golf Club, Athlos, a lot of emerging sports properties. And look, Chelsea is very unique, right? These are the queens of global soccer, and they've got the trophy case to prove it. So I feel so humbled. I mean, this is a very, very special club.
You talk about the trophy case there. They've had such a fantastic season. A potential treble could be completed today. With your investment, surely, though, they can get even better?
Oh, yes, the sky is the limit. And what I love about this club, you heard our president, Aki, saying this club is unapologetically ambitious. I want to get that tattooed on me. That is what we're trying to build here with Chelsea women, not just to be the best team, but truly the best team in the world and at the forefront of all of women's sports. This will be a $1 billion franchise one day and beyond, and I hope my dollars, my pounds, can go towards that in a big way, and especially back home in America. This is going to be America's team.
Joe Curry speaking to Chelsea investor Alexis Ohanian pitchside at Wembley Stadium after the Chelsea women's team won the treble with the FA Cup this afternoon. Elsewhere in the Premier League, finished Brentford 2, Fulham 3. It's looking highly unlikely now that 8th is going to be enough for Europe anyway, but it keeps Fulham just about in the mix. Brighton 9th, Brentford stay 8th. Leicester beat Ipswich by 2-0. Jamie Vardy's 500th and final Leicester game, and his 200th goal. He's still on the pitch, by the way. Dream ending then for Vardy. He's been speaking to fans, was asked how Leicester will be without him.
Oh, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. At the end of the day, they've got a good squad. You've got all the youngsters coming through as well. I'm glad I'm not them, because football is a killer mentally, and I couldn't do it all again if I'm honest. But I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I look forward to keeping an eye on the club I love, to be honest with you. They're in my heart, that's it. It's been a roller coaster, really has. But the good thing is there's been way, way, way more highs, and I think everyone would have never thought would have been in the Champions League, winning the league, and we've all been there to enjoy it.
When he started saying football there, I don't think I'm the only one who thought he's definitely not about to say football, but he did, so it's fine. On 5 Live from 8 o'clock, you can listen to live commentary of the final round of Golf's PGA Championship from Quail Hollow. The world number 1 Scotty Scheffler has a 3-shot lead, aiming for a third major title. Ian Carter.
It's proving a formidable test once again. Xander Schauffele out on the golf course. We thought he might be a contender this week, but not to be. But he's picked up 4 shots today, the reigning Open champion and the defending champion here. He's got into the group at 2 under par. Scheffler at 11 under par. It's not happened for Rory McIlroy all week long, and it's been the same story again today. Level par for his 11 holes. Dropped 2 early shots, picked up birdies at the 5th and the 8th, but at 2 over par overall, not a contender this week. We've obviously got a couple of English players who might have an outside chance. Matt Fitzpatrick at 5 under, Matt Wallace at 4 under, but Scotty Scheffler just such a formidable figure at the top of that leaderboard with a 3-stroke advantage.
In between those Brits and Scheffler are, on paper, what look like the real challengers today. If you had to pick one, Ian, I know it's not an easy question to answer, who do you think is most likely to challenge?
It's between Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau. They're the 2 players that you're referring to. Rahm at 6 under will be desperate to prove that he is still a major contender, having not contended in a major since his move to LIV. He's won 2 majors before. Bryson DeChambeau is the reigning US Open champion, went pretty close at the Masters last time out, and he's at 5 under par, but really struggled down the closing stretch yesterday. If either of them can get off to a hot start, it could suddenly become very interesting.
Thank you very much. That's correspondent Ian Carter. Let's see if I can rattle through some of the other scores before we hand back. So Ross County 1, Motherwell 1 is the full-time score in the Scottish Premiership. That means Ross County will be in the relegation playoff. Dundee stay up after a 2-0 win at St Johnstone, finished Kilmarnock 0, 10-man Hearts 1. Boreham Wood beat Maidstone by 1-0. They'll play National League football next season. Either Scunthorpe or Chester will join them. That's 1-1 with 20 minutes to go. In the rugby this afternoon, in the Rugby League, Wakefield 40, Warrington 10, a full-time score. Castleford Salford just getting underway. Harlequins 24, Exeter 22 at the Stoop is the full-time score in the Gallagher Premiership. In the Formula 1, Max Verstappen won the Grand Prix in Imola ahead of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. If this were heading into the final race of the season, the top 3 in the title race, which are those 3, could all win it. So that tells you that it is very, very close. We're into a first set tie-break right now between Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz in the final of the tennis on the clay in Rome as well. And you are up to date, ready to go for the second half at the Emirates. John Murray.
And Arsenal are making a change at the start of the second half, and it's William Saliba who has not come out for the second period, and Riccardo Calafiori is coming on to replace him. So that's a loss. So the two mainstays, the 2 central defenders that are so key for Arsenal, really, that's what we've always thought. Gabriel being out injured for some time, and now Saliba's not on the field. So it's Kivior and Calafiori who are going to be the Arsenal central defensive partnership for the remainder of this match.
Well, I'm sure that Newcastle will be absolutely delighted to see that. They got a lot of joy in the first half, and they'll expect to reproduce that in the second half, given that one of their main defenders has just been taken off the field.
That is the voice of Glenn Murray, Premier League goal scorer for Crystal Palace, Bournemouth and Brighton. That former Crystal Palace tag has gained a bit of traction, hasn't it, now over the course of this weekend?
Well, over the course of the FA Cup, John.
Yes, very much so. So that's the change, first change of the match, with Calafiori coming on to replace Saliba. So Raya in goal, White, Kivior, Calafiori and Lewis Skelly is now the Arsenal back 4. And actually Kivior's moved across, hasn't he, to the right-sided position, and Calafiori playing as the left-sided centre-back. Then Partey in midfield with Odegaard and Rice. Saka, Martinelli in the wide positions, and Trossard, who's furthest forward but floating around as he tends to. And Kai Havertz is on the substitutes bench for Arsenal today. And if you weren't listening in the first half, the big loss for Newcastle is Alexander Isak, their 27-goal top scorer, not involved because of a groin injury. Arsenal attacking towards the North Bank stand, which is to our left, our high position here, just to the left of the halfway line. So we're looking right across the middle of Newcastle's half. Black and white striped shirts for them. Arsenal in their new kit for next season, slightly different, red shirts, white sleeves, white shorts. Arsenal coming forward, and then across from the back comes Dan Burn to snuff out that attack, but concedes a corner. Yet another corner for Arsenal.
Yeah, it's Dan Burn covering Livramento. Just snuck round the back there. Ben White didn't need that underlapping run. Nearly gets in.
So corner. Arsenal. Sing the supporters as Bukayo Saka walks across in bright sunshine, actually, over on that side of the field. And Saka prepares to take this short again. It's to Trossard, then back to Saka, still in the full-back position. And the England man is quickly put under pressure and actually has to go back towards the halfway line and right. In the end, they go from a corner back to goalkeeper Raya.
Yeah, well, I can't understand them not putting the ball in the box, because Newcastle are so big and Arsenal aren't too physical, are they, in the aerial, in their aerial ability in the opposite 18-yard box. But funnily enough, their best opportunities come from that in this game.
Still Arsenal in possession inside the Newcastle half. 0-0, early stages of the second half. World Service listeners, I'm sure, are back with us now, so welcome to you as Trossard plays it to Calafiori, then back to the edge of the area to Lewis Skelly. Bruno Guimaraes actually slipped over there, but Lewis Skelly went backwards rather than forwards. Gets it back again. Lewis Skelly, I'm sure he'll be in Thomas Tuchel's squad on Friday morning, 11 o'clock. That's the next England squad. Trossard plays it in right-footed towards the back post. Livramento's able to fall and head it away, but Odegaard is back onto this, pulls it back. Saka now couldn't control it, most unlike him. And Bruno Guimaraes then running away with it, but Saka tackling back, got a foot on it and took it away from the Newcastle Brazilian. Calafiori now. Then Lewis Skelly. Out across the pitch surface to Trossard, and then in dives Fabian Schär to tackle the ball away back to Lewis Skelly, stationed halfway inside the Newcastle half. Still 0-0 in the early stages of this final commentary match of the day on 5 Live. Calafiori, long hair down the back of his neck, some of it tied up in a little knot at the back of his head. He has Ben White, wonder if he'll be back in the England squad under Thomas Tuchel on Friday. He did say that he wanted to play again, but remember at the time of his first squad was injured. Saka, left-footed ball, right across the box. Martinelli pulls it back, but Schär was there in the edge of the 6-yard box to curl it away with his right foot and out of play for a throw. Good Arsenal pressure early stages of the second half, Glenn.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Martinelli there, just that's where I feel as though they miss a centre forward. I feel as though number 9 would read that situation, that ball falling deep, and he knows it's going to be played back in first time. Unless he's going to go out and play, it's going to land on that front post. That's where you gamble, that's where you naturally gamble. I'm sure if it was on the other foot, Callum Wilson would have been sniffing around that area.
Yep. So Newcastle with Pope the goalkeeper, Schär, Botman and Byrne, Murphy, Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali and Tino Livramento, and then Anthony Gordon and Harvey Barnes. Gordon on the left-hand side, Barnes towards the right, and Wilson through the middle in the absence of Isak. Trossard for Arsenal. A lovely turn, Lewis Skelly, and then shoots into the legs of Schär, and the ball skitters away behind for another Arsenal corner. And Trossard says to the fans, many of whom are standing up in the lower section of the North Bank, to get behind them, make some noise, try and create something of a backdrop for Arsenal here to see if they can make the breakthrough.
Yeah, wonderful turn there by Lewis Skelly. Makes something out of nothing, doesn't he, the young man? But better by Arsenal in the opening knockings of this second half.
Just out of the corner of my eye, I think I saw Gabriel pictured there. Corner comes in for Arsenal, headed down but not away. Still in the 6-yard box, headed across by Kivior. A little glance, might fall to the back post. Saka heads it across, and then Schär's underneath that, heads it up in the air, and it's caught more or less underneath the crossbar by the Newcastle goalkeeper Pope. A bit of a goal mouth scramble, wasn't it? Or 6-yard box scramble.
How many headers can you get in such close vicinity? I think there was 6 or 7 in there, wasn't there, John? Everyone
don't
was.
You see that, do you?
Oh.
These days. Here's Murphy, who wins the throw-in halfway inside his own half.
Yeah, the game's definitely transitioned into a ball on the floor game more than in the air these days.
Just on the subject of England, you know, whether Ben White might be in, and Thomas Tuchel did say to us in March that Ben White wanted to play for England again, but I think there might be 1 or 2 that we're watching here, because it could be a strange looking England squad, this, with the various commitments, the European finals and the Club World Cup coming up as well.
You don't mean that of the appearance of the players that are going to get selected, do you, John?
Say that again?
I said you don't mean that by the appearance of the players that are going to get selected.
I mean players might be given an opportunity to stake a claim for a place in the World Cup squad, Glenn. That's what I mean.
Well,
so I'm thinking possibly Jacob Murphy.
Yes.
Maybe Harvey Barnes might get a chance again. We'll see.
Dan Burn.
Well, Dan Burn.
Will Callum Wilson make it?
I would be surprised.
Yeah, so would I, but
not if Dan Burn's in again. I don't think he did anything wrong last time, did he?
Anthony Gordon, Nick Pope.
Yep, Pope, but I think Henderson very much now is pushing and putting pressure on the number one, don't you?
Oh, is he putting pressure on the one? He had a good game yesterday, but
he's had a good season.
He maybe shouldn't have been on the field to make those saves. But we won't.
It's a very good point.
We won't go down that road. I can't say that Jordan Pickford's had a bad season.
No, he's had a good season. As Lewis Skelly, I thought he'd been fouled, but referee Hooper doesn't agree. Newcastle take it forward. Bruno Guimaraes with a pass over the top. Ben White herring after this. And Livramento's kept it in against White, and Livramento now gives it to Gordon, but Gordon couldn't find the pass to Bruno Guimaraes on the edge of the area, and the back-tracking Odegaard was able to cut it out. Backtracking a bit like me a few minutes ago. Here's Trossard. Trossard on the halfway line just wins the throw-in off Tonali. Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0. Stacks of commentaries coming up, some of the big games that are coming up. Scottish Cup final next weekend, the Women's Champions League final Sunday of the Premier League. We've got the Conference League final again from Wrocław, Chelsea in that, Champions League final from Munich. These all 5 live commentaries or Sports Extra that you'll hear. And Saka for Arsenal into the box. No big finals for Arsenal. They're trying to finish runners-up for the 3rd season in a row. As Mikel Arteta waves his team back as Newcastle break forward. Murphy's ball across to the edge of the area is headed back to his goalkeeper by Kivior. And now Arsenal come again with Partey in the centre circle. Lines are open for 6:06 on 5 Live. This is the penultimate Sunday of this Premier League season to talk to Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton, who will be taking your calls on 08085 909 693. Bruno Guimaraes on the edge of the area. Robbie Savage, who's keeping an eye on Scunthorpe 1, Chester 1 in the National League North playoff final. Arsenal with Odegaard, then Rice, right foot shot! Super finish once again from Declan Rice. Running across it, right foot, the whip on it, beyond the dive of Pope to his right. And Declan Rice makes it 9 goals for Arsenal for the season, and that was a pearler. Arsenal 1, Newcastle 0.
Well, there was an inevitability about that there, as that ball just rolls kindly and at the right tempo into Declan Rice's path, and he approaches it with such confidence and whips it back across Nick Pope and into the side netting for a wonderful goal. It hasn't. It's been coming, in all honesty. Arsenal have been much better in this second half. But as that ball comes across from Odegaard, he just whips it right foot. We've seen it on a couple of occasions this season. And as soon as it leaves his foot, it's destined for the bottom corner. And it's their captain and their player of the season, John.
Yeah. Odegaard creating another goal, incidentally. And his assist numbers are creeping up. Odegaard, that's 5 in his last 6 matches that he's created. And what have you spotted here?
Dan Burn having a go at Harvey Barnes. I'm not sure if he wasn't happy, if he hadn't tucked in or something. I was just trying to get a message to him, but there will be a frustration around this Newcastle group because they've been the better team in this game. Arsenal have played better in the second half without really creating anything, but Newcastle had numerous opportunities in the first half. And will they grow to rue those missed opportunities?
Well, Declan Rice scoring in a second consecutive home match. Scored the opening goal against Bournemouth here, but remember how Bournemouth responded and came back and won that match. But I think this feels slightly different. And of course that Bournemouth match here at the Emirates was the match in between the 2 legs of the the Paris Saint-Germain semi-final. So Newcastle without Alexander Isak. Newcastle, who have beaten Arsenal 3 times this season, but today it's Arsenal who've struck first, and now Trossard as Arsenal look for a second goal. And now with this scoreline, this would be enough to absolutely close off Champions League qualification for next season with a game to go. And Trossard's won it back from Murphy in the Newcastle right-back area, waits and delays the cross, and then plays it back to the edge of the area. Partey heads it into the box, but couldn't find Saka with the header. And then Pope overarms it out. Gordon on the chase down the left-hand side. Anthony Gordon still going up towards the corner of the penalty area. Gordon pulls it back, but on the edge of the area it's that man Declan Rice, scorer at one end, tidying up on the edge of his own penalty area for Arsenal at the other. And Anthony Gordon's burst down the left wing comes to nothing as Martinelli holds off Murphy, still on the edge of his own box. The Arsenal supporters want their team to go gung-ho and attack, but Trossard will just play it back to Lewis Skelly in the left-back position. The noise, the atmosphere inside the Emirates Stadium has been transformed by that Declan Rice goal, which I must say I thought had as you say, it was trademark Declan Rice. I felt it had a little touch of Brian Robson about it. For those, you have to say it now, who can remember Brian Robson. Here is Saka on the right-hand side. Saka running at Dan Burn. Red shirts arriving. Saka cuts in field. Left foot shot. Actually knocks Botman off his feet. He took it in the chest and went staggering backwards before he dropped to the ground. Might have struck him in the face, actually.
Yeah, it was dangerous. Saka, as soon as he cuts in on that left foot, he's trying to open that far corner up, and he gets at half yard, and it does actually strike Botman, who stands strong, big, and hits him right in the forehead. Knocks the stuffing out of the big man, but he's up on his feet again, and it looks like Eddie Howe is going to react to this Arsenal start to the second half. He's waving substitutes back, and it looks like it's going to be the first Newcastle substitute.
Yeah, he's throwing to Arsenal. Botman actually didn't receive treatment on the field, so he hasn't had to go off. The point was being made yesterday by it was either Clinton Morrison or Sean Dyche during the commentary when Mark Gay had to go off the field. There's Declan Rice now, the goal scorer. He's over on the left-hand side this time, just plays the ball to Martinelli, who's there with him. Martinelli now back to Lewis Skelly, and then further back to Calafiori. But Calafiori's misplaced pass, Tonali was onto that, but Partey recovered well, actually, although he has fouled Tonali, so it's a free kick to Newcastle halfway inside their own half. And those Newcastle changes are being prepared down there. Will Osula is going to come on, Emil Kraft as well. And I think it's going to be a triple change, isn't it, for Newcastle after the way that Arsenal have started this second half.
Yeah, I think the third one's Lewis Miley, isn't he? Lined
yes,
up down there.
Castleford 6, Salford 0 is the latest score in the 5:30 kickoff in the Super League. And you can hear commentary on that on Sports Extra 2, which is brand new this week on BBC Sound. Sports Extra 2 and Sports Extra 3 for even more live sports coverage. Here's Trossard, who is handed off the ball by Guimaraes, who then wasn't able to get the cross in as it's played up to Martinelli, and then Odegaard sets off Bukayo Saka. Saka now into the penalty area, black and white shirts coming back, and then the shot from Saka across the box. Pope was able to go down too close to the Newcastle goalkeeper, who made a routine save.
Yeah, it doesn't quite get that whip from his left foot that he would like, Saka, that we see so often into that far corner. The turf just takes the pace off it, and it rolls kindly to Nick Pope. But it's been a good 5-10 minutes for Arsenal, and these Newcastle changes are going to try and stop that Arsenal momentum.
So Newcastle can't make the changes yet. The ball's still in play. And Fabian Schär, long right-footed ball from Fabian Schär out to Gordon on the left-hand side. Gordon, whose cross comes off Ben White, bounces into the hoardings next to the Newcastle fans, who are here in great numbers, and half of them in sunlight, half of them in the shade.
Well, I'm sure they'd like to try and make this corner count, because they've definitely got the height advantage when it comes to set pieces now that Arsenal are missing both of their centre-halves in this game.
Yeah, in the first half, David Raya made a very good save from a corner from Dan Burns' header. Gordon to take it short, Glenn, to Tonali, then back to Gordon, who's challenged on the edge of the box by Trossard. Still haven't got the ball in. Now they do from Tonali. Burn was at the near post. Calafiori came across, Kivior came across and got his head to it to steer it away.
It was a wonderful, unexpected cross by Tonali. He dug it out with his left foot, and there's a little bit of a mismatch in the box there. Dan Burn and Odegaard.
Still Newcastle on the right-hand side, trying to respond to that opening goal from Declan Rice with the ball in the central third of the field. I must say I've seen quite a lot of Arsenal recently. So I've had a bit of an Arsenal season ticket for the last couple of months.
And what do you make of them, John?
Well, I was just going to make the point, as Byrne, still up on the edge of the area, heads it into the box, but the whistle's gone for Barnes, who manhandled Party to the ground. Always too physical, says referee Hooper, and then shot at goal and hit the crossbar anyway. The point I was going to make was, I think Kivior has actually done quite well when he's come in over the course of the time that he's had a run in the team. It's his 11th start in a row as Newcastle now make the changes. So Jacob Murphy is going to come off. Young Miley coming on. Sven Botman, who was an injury doubt for this. So Emil Kraft coming on into the back line. And that's it for Callum Wilson. So Will Osceola, who's coming on. I don't know whether you've seen a great deal of Will Osceola, Glenn, but he's an interesting one. He's a bit of a bag of tricks, as they used to say.
Well, have I heard that he's the fastest in the squad as well, so that's going to pose a problem for Arsenal in the second half, especially when Newcastle try and get them on the transitions like they did in the first half. But going back to your Kivior point, John.
Yes.
Well, the suggestion that they beat Real Madrid with him, I think there was a little bit of a worry when he stepped into the team, wasn't there? And he done well in that fixture, but his form doesn't really coincide with Arsenal's form.
As Emil Kraft, who's just come onto the field, hauls down Martinelli, and as you can hear the reaction from the Arsenal fans in here, howling for the potential of a red card for Kraft. I mean, Martin, it's on the left wing. I think the recovering defender's coming back as well, so it's a yellow card. First thing he does, Emil Kraft, is haul back Martinelli, bring him down, so free kick and a yellow card.
I think the fans expected the denial of a goal-scoring opportunity, didn't they, which results in a red card, but I think the referee got that one just about perfect there, Simon Hooper. There was a recovering defender. He's not directly in on goal, but it is a free kick with Odegaard standing over it in a very good position on the pitch.
Yes, it is. Towards the left-hand side from round about the kind of position that he sent in a free kick 2 or 3 weeks ago when Kivior scored against Crystal Palace. 1-0 Arsenal lead. Here's Odegaard, then in goes the delivery, but Newcastle, in the shape of Cher, is able to get to the ball. Headed out, Livramento's there for Newcastle. Gordon playing it forward for Bruno Guimaraes down the left. Rice comes across. Bruno Guimaraes into Osceola, and a crucial interception from the sliding Kivior on the edge of the box to deflect it back to his goalkeeper.
But right away, Sula driving through the centre and dragging those centre-halves away to create that space for Bruno. Bruno looks to find him in the centre, doesn't quite get there, but a threat from Newcastle.
That's the voice of Glenn Murray, our Cumbrian summariser. As I always say to you, Glenn, I don't think I've worked with too many Cumbrian summarisers over the years. Free kick to Newcastle, 10 yards inside their own half. Good weekend for the Cumbrians as well, with Dean Henderson yesterday.
It was indeed. We often get mistaken for Geordies, John.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah.
To the untrained ear.
To the untrained ear. Yes. And indeed, maybe sometimes Northumbrians, Glenn.
Yes.
Here's Tonali, playing it back towards the edge of the area. Yes, I'm sure Dean Henderson's exploits, so that'll be big news in the Cumberland and Westmoreland Gazette, won't it, this week? They'll be bringing out a special edition.
It will indeed. There's not been too many FA Cup winners up there.
No, there's not. Here's Bruno Guimaraes, now going back into the left-back position. Dan Burn, the Northumbrian, long ball into the centre circle. he's had his day at Wembley, of course, as well, hasn't he? The Northumbrian this season with that unforgettable opening goal in the League Cup final. And a long ball forward for Arsenal, leading by 1-0. Trossard loses out to Tonali and Cher.
I must say, I do like Lewis Miley for Newcastle when he comes on out.
Me too.
I haven't seen as much as him as I would have liked this season, but...
Well, he's had his issues, hasn't he?
Yeah, mightily impressed with the young Geordie.
So, this is his 19th appearance of the season, but 15 of them have been as a substitute. And, if he has a spell, if he's able to keep himself fit, and he is still only 19 years old, just turned 19 actually on the 1st of May, then I think big things are expected of him. Arsenal coming forward though, with Miley now in that Newcastle midfield with Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes. Martinelli tries to pass the ball infield, but that's blocked out of play by Kraft for a throw to Arsenal. In the county championship, I told you about Worcestershire's win earlier. There have also been wins today for Hampshire and Leicestershire. So Leicestershire win again, so will remain top of Division 2. Here is Declan Rice. Declan Rice on the left-hand side, goes down the line. Miley is there with him, could be future England teammates, and Miley puts the foot in to put it out of play.
He's so good in those tight situations, doesn't get the credit he deserves. Declan Rice has got brilliant feet for a big man.
Yes, as Cliff Morgan used to say, lovely feet. Throw in. Lewis Skelly to take this to Trossard. Lewis Skelly back to Trossard, thought about the cross, instead goes for a sort of Rabona style flick to Lewis Skelly. Then Trossard puts his foot on the ball. Arsenal, who've been on the rough end of things against Newcastle this season, and also there was quite a there's a bit of a debate, wasn't there, about Newcastle's physical approach against Arsenal as well during the course of those matches. Raya, long downfield, Kraft was able to head it away. Two Arsenal players went for the same ball, so Miley was able to head it to Tonali, but it bounces back for Arsenal. Odegaard through the middle, but forced to take it back towards the halfway line, but then sets up Ben White, who shoots just across the face of goal from the edge of the area. Slight angle, just by maybe a foot wide.
Yeah, he just decided to take it on. Not very often Arsenal shoot from that distance, especially Ben White, but he just catches it as it skips up off the turf, and it really comes off that right boot of his and just whistles wide past the right post of Nick Pope's goal. Had the Newcastle goalkeeper worried at full stretch.
Yes, you might have heard the oohs and the gasps. There's another one as it's shown on the big screens. It's a bit like being at the test match, isn't it, when you see the ball that deviates and takes the outside of off stump. Here is Lewis Skelly playing the ball back to Raya in the 6-yard box, who passes it out to Kivior, and Partey decides, I've had enough of that, and just swipes it away right-footed downfield. But it was a good pass actually to Saka. Ben White then wins a throw-in off Gordon over there on the far side. Arsenal are just edging this, Glenn, aren't they? And they've taken a quick throw, but Livramento is able to intercept it and play it back to Dan Burn.
Yeah, they are indeed. Arsenal have been good in the second half. Haven't created too many opportunities. It was a bit of a wonderful strike from Rice to break the deadlock. But Newcastle's substitutes, the triple substitute from Eddie Howe, haven't quite had the impact intended yet.
Not yet. Livramento forward to Gordon, the fair-haired Gordon, that bouffant hair of his. Gordon takes on White, gets the ball in left-footed, but Kivior was there at the near post to play it back. But Gordon's got it back again, takes on White again, but White comes out with the ball this time and gives it to the Arsenal number 5 Partey. Long pass downfield from him, but Nick Pope is way out of his penalty area, controls it and almost gives it away. Oh, dear me.
Well, I think everyone felt like you there, John, in the whole stadium. He just doesn't look very confident with the ball at his feet, does he, Nick Pope? And for a moment there, it was heart in your mouth stuff as he tried to roll it to his centre half. I thought Saka was just going to pounce, and he's about 40 yards outside his own goal.
We know it. All the Arsenal fans know it. The Newcastle fans know it. Nick Pope knows that we all know it. And even though he had time there...
I hope he doesn't listen back to this, John.
What, on BBC Sound? And even though he had plenty of time there, it was almost as if it was, yeah, I'm in control of this.
It was slow motion for a second.
I've got this. And then took a heavy touch. Gordon won't reach that, so cheers from the Arsenal fans that bounces all the way through for a goal kick. The big event this coming midweek, don't miss this. Mr. Ian Dennis and Mr. Paul Robinson are the commentary team in Bilbao this week, so they'll be there on, in fact, as anyone who's going, Manchester United or Tottenham fans, it is a circuitous route for many people to that final in Bilbao, but the commentary Wednesday night, and also you'll hear from them on Tuesday night with the build-up and probably at all hours of the day as well, as we build up to that final, which I cannot see finishing 0-0. Here is Saka through the middle and waiting for Pope to come out, which he does, and grabs it near the penalty spot. You'd be a brave man, I think, to predict that final scoreline, Glenn.
I'm predicting goals.
Thank you very much, so am I. Here's Tonali to Gordon. Gordon being put under pressure and indeed being fouled by Kivio, so a free kick to Newcastle.
I think it's going to be a final where football's the winner, John.
Well, let's hope so. That's what we want from every single football match that we go to. And Bruno Guimaraes with a long pass from deep. That's asking a lot of Barnes. He does well, keeps it in actually. One or two Arsenal fans suggesting it was out. I don't think it was. Barnes, then back to Miley. And Miley, lovely balance, hasn't he? As he just takes the ball in field, economical, gets it back, those orange boots. I think he's quite possibly gained maybe a few centimetres.
Thicker set
he
as well.
Doesn't he? Yeah. Cross from the right-hand side, takes a deflection, but drops to Arsenal on the edge of their own penalty area.
I'm sure as a young man, he always dreamt of being described as the economical.
Here is Trossard, but misplaces the pass. But Mikel Arteta comes in the way that he does. Mikel Arteta steps forward, claps his hands very quickly as if to applaud what Trossard was intending to do, because he's trying to make the crowd react, isn't he? He doesn't want them groaning and moaning. Here is Gordon on the left-hand side. Is that Kai Havertz stepping forward? We might see him in a minute. Livramento with a cross, but the falling Kivio blocks that behind for a Newcastle corner from the left. Yes, it is, isn't it? We're going to see the Arsenal top scorer. So there's a ripple of applause now as people are cottoning on to this. Kai Havertz about to make his comeback, but Newcastle with a corner, and we have just over 15 minutes to play, with Arsenal leading 1-0, a scoreline that will confirm their place in the Champions League. And Newcastle also, Joe Willock coming on. The corner is taken by Newcastle to the near post, but is headed away. Kraft is able to get a foot in on that, and then Livramento under pressure from a herring Saka. Has to play it back to his goalkeeper Pope, and then Miley is in on the challenge with Martinelli, and it's the Newcastle teenager who's able to come out with the ball, gives it to Tonali to his left, Tonali to Bruno Guimaraes, now Osula back to Bruno Guimaraes, it could open up here, but the shot from Barnes on the edge of the area, falling backwards as he did so, sent it up and over the top of the crossbar by a yard or so, and into the Arsenal fans. And Osula has stayed down, might have been caught late after playing that pass on the edge of the area.
He got sandwiched, didn't he? But it was difficult for Harvey Barnes. He needed that ball earlier, and there was a possibility to roll it even further out to Anthony Gordon, who was in acres of space. He doesn't. Newcastle missed the chance again. Wasteful so far this afternoon, Newcastle.
So here we are, the return of Kai Havertz, and he's going to take the place of Bukayo Saka, actually, which is a little surprising. But Kai Havertz, after missing the last 18 Arsenal matches, big matches in that time that Havertz wasn't able to be a part of, might it have been different if he'd been available for the PSG semi-final. But here's the cheer for the return of Arsenal's 15-goal top scorer. And also Joe Willock, the former Arsenal youngster who scored here last season when Arsenal won this fixture 4-1. Joe Willock, who gets a nice round of applause actually from the Arsenal fans coming back to his old club again, for Harvey Barnes.
When you were talking about Kai Havertz, he's definitely missed that crucial business end of the season, hasn't he? And he might not be a number 9, but he's a very unorthodox false 9, which poses its own problems.
It's Arsenal 1, Newcastle 0, and we are now into the last 15 minutes on this penultimate Sunday of the Premier League season. Lines are open for 6:06. Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton are itching to hear from you as the ball's played through for Havertz, and it almost breaks for him as Cher put in the challenge. They're saying, Arsenal, that that's a back pass off Dan Burn, which I think is very optimistic, and it bounces back off Burn to Pope, who's able to go down and claim it. But Newcastle have got it back. So yes, 08085 909 693 to book your call on 606 with Robbie Savage, who I see has signed a new contract as the manager of Macclesfield. Did you spot that over the course of the last couple of days after his championship-winning exploits this season?
I think he missed Bumper new contract out of that.
Was it? Bumper. Yes,
if Robbie's involved, it will be, trust me.
I must get that as Newcastle win a free kick. Tonali was just caught there, just a little late. He's pulling up the back of his boot. It's Kai Havertz who put in the challenge on him, I think. So this is a free kick in a good position. When we record the next edition of the Commentator's View podcast, I'm going to propose Bumper new contract for the great glossary of football commentary. Well done, Glenn. I'll make sure I put you down as the proposer.
Thank you very much. It'll be a privilege to be named on such a pod.
Won't it just? Right, so this is a chance here then for Newcastle, 1-0 down. Newcastle would still need something against Everton with this scoreline to claim their place in the Champions League, or to be sure of their place in the Champions League. Fabian Cher, who likes to hit one, doesn't he? He's going to be the free kick taker.
Yeah, we've highlighted the importance for Arsenal, haven't we? But it's just as important for Newcastle, these points here this afternoon.
It doesn't look like he's going to have
is this corner open to Raya left-hand side?
Cher with the free kick, hits it straight into the wall, and it bounces away, and Livramento had to put enough on that. Back to Pope, who had Martinelli bearing down on him, but was able to clear it cleanly downfield. 1-0 Arsenal lead, 5 live in the World Service. Ball headed forward towards Byrne, who's still up there. Then the pass forward from Krast. Arsenal clear that away through Kivior. Here is Tonali again. Tonali, Osula with his bleached hair, the blonde hair, cutting in field, still going, step over, cross to the back post, but that's beyond Willock, who is chasing after it but won't reach that, and it bounces out of play and bumps into the hoardings in front of the Newcastle fans. 1-0. Declan Rice's goal is in the 55th minute. Declan Rice scoring for the 9th time this season and extending his personal best goal scoring season.
And there's been some crackers in there.
Not least the free kicks here against Real Madrid.
And today wasn't bad.
It was not bad. As Willock very nearly dispossesses White, but White was able to find the pass back to Raya. Then Havertz jumps her on the halfway line. Dan Burns saying that he was maybe caught by an arm there. He's all right though, he's back on his feet, comes back to Havertz on the halfway line. Then Havertz goes down rather easily against Dan Burn, which will annoy him, and Burn throws the ball down accidentally on purpose straight into Havertz, who's on the ground, and that's just frustration for Dan Burn. Thought he should have got a free kick, then Havertz won a very soft one against him.
He did. Some would say the centre-half was played there.
Centre-forward. Do we know any centre-forwards who might have tried that sort of thing, Glenn?
I'm not sure. None come to mind.
None off the top of your head. Naughty centre-forward play.
Good centre-forward play.
Depending on your point of view. Ball played out towards Trossard, but he couldn't keep it in play, and it's a throw into Newcastle.
When you mention Dan Burns' frustration, I think there'll just be
what's happened here?
Mikel Arteta with a yellow card.
Arteta has said something, and Simon Hooper, the referee, has seized on it immediately, and then Arsenal, after the throw-in's taken by Newcastle, Arsenal win another throw-in on the left-hand side. Mikel Arteta, who was giving out, Mikel Arteta kicked the ball back onto the field to delay the restart, so Mikel Arteta was booked for that. Last week he was expressing his frustration, wasn't he, after Mikel Merino was sent off at Anfield and therefore is suspended for this match.
I have seen those challenges and I can't understand what complaint he has, in all honesty.
Absolutely. As Trossard clips the ball into the penalty area, And Arsenal back in possession with Trossard. Odegaard now, but that's cut out by Cher on the edge of the penalty area. Plays it. Bruno Guimaraes under pressure does well though, up towards Gordon. But Calafiori shields the ball from Gordon and plays it back to Kivior. And then all the way back to Raya, who slices it. He's off balance and slices it out of play.
You're too kind, John.
I make that Mikel Arteta's third booking of the season as in all competitions.
2 games away from a ban.
Well, that's all competitions. Yeah, might miss the start of next season if he's not careful. Arsenal 1, Newcastle 0, and we have 8 minutes to play. Could be an interesting last 8 minutes. Livramento's ball all the way across and cleared away by Lewis Skelly. But Martin Odegaard couldn't get the ball under control. Dan Burn now suddenly popped up on the left wing, finds Willock. Willock in the area, turning away from Partey. And then Livramento just has to back away, passes it forward to Willock. Wondered if he was offside. Still going Willock into the area. Oh, lovely turn! And then shoots wide from an angle, wider than near post. And the ball's bouncing around in amongst the heads of the Arsenal fans. Then the clock end.
Yeah, he looks towards the heavens, Willock. He's got plenty of options. There's 6 or 7 Newcastle players in the box. He opts to shoot. It's high, wide and handsome. I'm just looking at Eddie Howe now, and when he sits on that plane on the way home later, if the score remains this way, I think he'll walk out of the Emirates a little bit shell-shocked, because the first half they had so many opportunities to score, Newcastle, and they didn't take them.
We will, all things being well, hear from Eddie Howe during the course of 6:06 on 5 Live. Lines are open, 08 085 909 693. Hashtag BBC 606, text 85058, and that will be followed at 8 o'clock by commentary on the final round of the PGA Championship Golf. Ian Carter is there at Quail Hollow. Everyone expecting Scotty Scheffler to go on and win his latest major title, but we will see. That's on 5 Live tonight from 8 o'clock with our excellent golf team. We're very much looking forward to bringing you the Open from Portrush. It won't be long before the French Open. You'll hear lots of that on 5 Live. Monaco Grand Prix next weekend. All of the summer sport to come. Here is Byrne. Byrne to Joel Willock on the left-hand side. Willock just gently as he comes forward. Knocks it back to Bruno Guimaraes. Just over 5 minutes to play here at a sunny Emirates now. Blue skies overhead. Osula on the right-hand side. He does like to come in from that side. Still going and then works it back. Cher, ooh, delicate, lifts it in, and it comes off the head of White. Haven't cleared the penalty area. Kivior's header away on the edge of the box. Tonali with a stretch. Gordon, scoop back over the top. Headed away by Kivior again. Martinelli couldn't clear it away. There's a little bit of edginess in the stands here for the Arsenal supporters. You can feel it. A murmur going around the ground. Newcastle give it away though. Willock's pass to the feet of Havertz. Takes it out to the far side, but Miley puts the challenge in. Newcastle come again. Livramento, tall and upright, into the box, blocked away by Arsenal. Now Lewis Miley, Newcastle's number 67, across to the Italian number 8, Tonali. Now to the right-hand side to Kraft. The Swedish international just stops the ball. Then further back towards Cher. Tonali directing operations. Back to the Swiss. Cher with the cross to the back post. He's got too much on that, and it's bounced all the way down into the right-back position where Martinelli will just dummy to clear it and allow it to run out of play for a throw-in. Mikel Arteta comes and just has a word with Albert Stauvenberg, one of his coaches. They're nearly there with this scoreline. This would put them in pole position to finish as runners-up again this season, but also would clinch that all-important Champions League place that they've made heavy weather of, but it's very close for them now.
They have, and it's extremely important for the football club to clinch that Champions League again. They've shown this season they can go deep into the competition. They'll hope, once confirmed, they can go deep again next season, especially with some additions. The promises of the co-chair, like we've highlighted already, John. Investment in the summer coming at the Emirates.
Yes, and that column in the programme from Josh Kroenke, while he acknowledges the supporters' frustrations and says there's going to be business and money spent and they're going to go for it next season. Actually, in its own way, that piles the pressure on next season to actually deliver. It is Castleford 18, Salford 0. There's the latest score in the Super League. There's commentary on that now on Sports Extra 2. And they've got another injury. Trossard has gone down, who is the doubt anyway for this match. But at 1-0 up, Trossard has sat down, and Kieran Tierney is being prepared to come on to replace him.
Well, when you talk about that delivering of success for Arsenal, some would question whether Arteta has delivered that. Obviously, there's been an FA Cup. There's definitely been progress at the football club, but he has been in the position a long time now.
Yeah, FA Cup in his early months.
What was it, John? The fourth longest serving in the 92?
In 92, yeah. 5.5 years he's been in charge here. And Trossard is going to be replaced by Kieran Tierney, so there's applause for him. But yeah, a couple of Community Shields. This would be Premier League runners-up 3 times, Champions League quarter-finalists, Champions League semi-finalists, and a big cheer for Kieran Tierney for what will be his last appearance for Arsenal here at the Emirates before he returns to Celtic in the summer, and this is nice. Lovely touch from the Arsenal fans.
Yeah, full voice, very nice touch.
Long ball downfield for Newcastle to chase. Calafiori's got to get this right, and he heads it back to Raya, and Gordon is tearing in there, and Raya leapt forward to make sure that Gordon didn't make any contact on him. Kieran Tierney, by the way, this is 134th appearance for Arsenal, and of course he's had his injury problems, almost 6 years at Arsenal. And 1-0 Arsenal lead, 90 seconds to play. Newcastle will know that they will, if they win against Everton next Sunday, that will be enough for a top 5 finish, even though they're losing here. Bruno Guimaraes is challenged by Odegaard. That's a foul. Just been told as well that our colleagues on 5 Live Breakfast have secured the interview with Crystal Palace's Joel Ward for the morning. So Joel Ward's going to be on 5 Live Breakfast in the morning. I suspect it'll be a later slot.
I would as well.
But,
I'm sure it's been a very long weekend for that man.
But you never know, he might be on at 6:05. Tonali, long ball into the area, but Raya comes, makes the catch, overarms it out. Martinelli's chasing onto this. Martinelli all on his own, although there are reinforcements arriving, but he goes for the byline and Livramento puts in the challenge. Yes. I think we have now reached the point where Arsenal are thinking about keeping what they've got.
Stuck with him well there, didn't he? Livramento, Martinelli's quick, slippery customer. Can't quite. It was actually Kieran Tierney who had broken his neck to get into the box to support Martinelli. Couldn't quite find him.
With this scoreline, and the clock is ticking towards the 90 minutes, and the board is in the hands of 4th official Andy Madley. With this scoreline, because of Arsenal's superior goal difference, 5 minutes of added time, this will pretty much guarantee that Arsenal will finish as runners-up again. The corner, Rice to take this. Rice into the near post, which is headed away by Cher, virtually on his own goal line. Then back out to corner taker Rice. The ball's still spinning at his feet. And then crossing right for a dangerous ball in. Headed up in the air by Kraft. Still inside the penalty area. Partey goes down. Not terribly convincingly, trying to make it look like Bruno Guimaraes had pushed him over. And actually his boots come off in the midst of all that, and in the end it's out of play for a throw-in to Newcastle halfway inside their own half. So 5 minutes of added time, we've got just over 4 of those to go. The line's open for 606 08 085 909 693. Watch the highlights, watch the pictures of the last match at Goodison Park for Everton's men's team on Match of the Day 2 tonight, anytime on the iPlayer. Be repeated on BBC 2 tomorrow morning. And of course you can go back and watch the FA Cup final highlights as well on the iPlayer. You'll find them there, or indeed the whole thing. And here is Tonali. Declan Rice looks as though he might be making the difference again with that goal that he scored, swept in from the edge of the area. Good goal, good finish. Here's Dan Burn, and also we're going to see Jorginho coming on, which would be a final appearance for him as well. He's going back to Brazil in the summer, so a final appearance for him at the Emirates. He strikes me as someone who is a very popular teammate, Jorginho. You often hear teammates talking of him in glowing terms. Ball played back to Burn. Jorginho standing, the Italian international, but Brazilian born, remember. Long pass forward from Miley, but David Raya took a heavy touch there, and even Orsiel came in. He's made an awful lot of that. Orsiel, whether he barely touched him, and Raya has gone down clutching his right calf.
I mean, before seeing a replay, it seems a bit ridiculous. I think they're going through a spate of Premier League players throwing themselves to the ground, and this play acting is it's a real problem in the game at the minute, John.
I think that spate has lasted for about 15 years, Glenn.
Well, it's getting worse, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's going in the wrong direction.
Let's have a listen to. We heard the Kieran Tierney ovation. Martin Odegaard, a little hug, and Jorginho is onto the field now as well. And remember as well the injury that he had recently, which I don't think it was ever confirmed by Arsenal, but certainly reported as Jorginho having punctured a lung last month. And the Arsenal fans sing his name as well. So that's quite a recovery, it would seem to me. As Raya, unsurprisingly, is okay to carry on, and he's going to take this goal kick.
I'm surprised he's been able to carry on, John. It was a terrible collision, wasn't it?
Yes.
I've actually just seen a rerun of his highlights from the first half, and he made 5 wonderful saves.
Yeah, he did.
And you wouldn't think in this second half, because he's not had much to do at all, has he, the Arsenal goalkeeper, but he'd be up there for me as man of the match.
Yep, another good day for the biggest hands in football. Long goal kick downfield, and Havertz with the challenge on Schär, and that's a yellow card for Kai Havertz. That's not the first time, is it, that he's been accused of jumping with flailing arms, and he's caught Schär, who's okay, he's back on his feet, although he's putting his hands to his face. He might have taken one in the nose, I suspect. And Kai Havertz booked on his return, and it wasn't it?
Yeah,
high elbow.
He's running the risk there. Kai Havertz knows exactly what he's doing. Elbow's pointed right across Fabian Schär's nose.
Yeah, after Nicholas Jackson's standing off.
They're not nice to walk into those, let me tell you.
No. Arsenal 1, Newcastle 0 in added time. In fact, in the last minute of added time, Newcastle going for the equaliser. Oh, Tonali stood on the ball. That's most unlikely. But it's won back by Bruno Guimaraes. They thought he'd fouled Jorginho. No free kick. Gordon with a cross. Raya comes, he hasn't got it. And Newcastle can't force it in. And in fact, Arsenal now break away down the other end. Havertz has got the chance to pass it forward to Martinelli. Martinelli, poor touch. Still in the box though on the left-hand side. Martinelli picks out Jorginho. Jorginho in the D. Jorginho challenged by Tonali. And now Newcastle are off again. This will be the last attack of the match as Newcastle go for the equaliser. Gordon on the left wing. Schär's still up there in the middle. Gordon into the box now. Dances past Rice. Gordon's pass infield is cut out. And I think that might be it. Referee Hooper has a look. Still he's playing on. Mikel Arteta says, surely that's time. He's waving his arms around. Referee says play on. Crafts ball into the Arsenal box. Reaches Bruno Guimaraes on the far side. Still they go. Bruno Guimaraes slips over. He's claiming that he was caught there by Ben White. I'm sure Simon Hooper's not going to be interested in that. It's played away by Arsenal. And still we go on after Raya with his injury. Raya's come a long way and punched it right on the edge of the box. That might even have been outside of the penalty area where he punched that, the Arsenal goalkeeper.
Not again.
Not again, as Martinelli then loses out to Burn. Still, we've got time. We're in the 7th minute of added time now. Burn up to the edge of the area. Somehow manages to work it to Willock. Willock into the box. His cross hits the back of White. Bounces down. turns, Willock's cross, blocked behind it to corner. Arsenal's players are turning to referee Hooper and saying, where are you getting this time from?
Well, Nick Pope's up now. Mikel Arteta's going mad, he's on a yellow card. It's a never-ending game, John.
Still we go on. Mikel Arteta clapping his hands and trying to urge referee Hooper to blow the whistle. This is all time that was added on by David Raya's injury. So I think he's well within his rights. Corner then. I think this will be the last action of the match. Gordon with the corner into the near post. Osula with a flick. It's caught by Raya. Nick Pope races back downfield. We've got a conflagration now. Half of the players out there are pushing and shoving. They're in a huge ruck. Raya's got to his feet as well. He's pushing Osula. Osula's pushing Raya. And there's general skirmishing. The Arsenal fans are getting involved as well, and it's all calmed down. And a yellow card's been shown to Kivior.
Kivior and Dan Burn, I think it was, and that is what you call an end-of-game melee.
Well, I did say there has been a bit of feeling. Fourth time they've played each other this season. Newcastle have won 3, but Arsenal are winning this one, and that all happening right at the end. Lines are open for 606 08 085 909 693, which will follow shortly on 5 Live once we've wrapped things up. But 5 Live in the World Service for the final knockings of this match. And what is
I'm
going
not sure
on
if
here?
Simon Hooper's waiting for confirmation from VAR of something here, because he's not made a decision. He's not ended the game yet, and there's a huge conversation between about 12 players and Simon Hooper, and he's just standing waiting patiently, hand on his ear, waiting to hear what the outcome of, we're not sure what is.
Well, VAR, it doesn't say it on the screens in the ground. It does not say it, but this is clearly a VAR call here, and you have to assume, which is all we can do, because we haven't got any word from officialdom, that there must be a chance of a Newcastle penalty here. You have to assume that, unless there's been, I don't know, a punch thrown, something like that. And let's have a look.
He's blown the whistle. Oh, he's just blown the whistle. Game over.
That is it. No further action taken. Mikel Arteta gathers all of his coaches together, and we've still got some nonsense going on the field. Some of the Newcastle players have gone to referee Hooper to ask some questions, but Mikel Arteta, he looks like a relieved man down there. He gathered together Albert Staubenberg, Carlos Cuesta, Nicolas Javert, Miguel Molina, the whole lot of them in their pale blue Arsenal shirts, because that's a result, that's an Arsenal win that means that they will have Champions League football next season, and also it means almost certainly that they will finish as runners-up for a third consecutive season. Glenn Murray.
Yeah, I think towards the end of the game there, the frustrations of Newcastle were more with themselves than with Arsenal, because they missed a host of opportunities in the first half. David Raya with some amazing saves, but Arsenal were much improved in the second half, and it was almost a perfect outcome for them. 3 points, guaranteed Champions League football. Said goodbye to Jorginho, who got a cameo, said goodbye to Taney, who got a cameo, and kept a clean sheet. 1-0 Arsenal.
Yeah, 71 points for Arsenal, and because of the goal difference, it's highly unlikely that would get turned around in Manchester City's favour. So they've got there in the end, it would appear, with one match to play. And as for Newcastle, who stay third in the table, they will go into next Sunday's match against Everton knowing that a win would ensure Champions League football for them next season, as their players and Eddie Howe go to the Newcastle fans in the corner of the Emirates.
Yeah, I mean, even though they've been beaten, the whole Newcastle squad are over there, and the reception they've got of the travelling fans is actually something to behold.
Yes, it is. And we will be addressed, we are told, by Martin Odegaard and Mikel Arteta, who will be making a speech, the two of them, on the pitch at the end of this match, while Arsenal have their lap of appreciation at the end of what has been overall a disappointing trophyless season. But as we've explained, bigger things are promised for next season. Final score though, Arsenal 1, Newcastle United 0.
And it's been that crazy an afternoon of live football, Glenn Murray, that this is the first time I'm going to say hello to you. How's it going?
Hi, Steve. How are you? I thought you'd fallen out with me.
Never. One question, 606 is on the way, but given all the programme notes that the two of you were reading through from Josh Kroenke, they're talking about investment, they're saying it and doing it, but equally finishing second this season, which is what they're going to do now.
Well, limping to second, Steve.
Does it matter though? Second means they're not going backwards and they have to feel that they are still moving forwards.
That's a hot topic, Steve. Second means they're not going backwards when Manchester City's fall off has been how it is, and another... Okay. I suppose when you look at it, when you zoom out and you look at the past 3 years, they've been second to an exceptional Manchester City and a close second to that Manchester City as well. Manchester City fell off. You would have thought that Arsenal were the team primed and ready to take that place. The disappointment will be that they haven't done that, and Liverpool have snuck in, and I will add, won it at a canter.
And just to summarise, Steve, Josh Kroenke in the programme today says they know they've fallen short of what they wanted this season. He says Mikel Arteta faced some challenges throughout the season, and he says, I want to give credit to the way they managed in these circumstances. He says, Josh Kroenke, we plan to invest to get behind winning and doing better next season. He says, we're as hungry for success as you are, this message to the supporters. And he says, we understand how you're all feeling at the end of the season. We feel it too. So that kind of summarises the message.
Steve, I would say that I feel as though the acceptance of this season from the Arsenal fans would be very different if they hadn't surpassed Real Madrid in the quarterfinals of the Champions League.
Yeah, very good point. 08085 909 693. Plenty from that to get into on 606. Glenn Murray and John Murray then inside the Emirates. Arsenal 1, Newcastle United 0.